Okay, think about your web browser. The tool you use for, well, almost everything online. It's often, maybe too often, a real productivity trap, right? You open one tab, you're searching for just one little thing, and suddenly there are five more. Then you're copying, pasting, managing maybe a dozen windows, and hours just vanish into what we call administrative friction.
It's that constant drag, isn't it? That friction of just getting digital work done. But what if that very tool, your browser, could actually be like an intelligent assistant? One that handles the thinking part, the synthesis, the admin burden for you.
That's really the core question we're digging into today in this deep dive. We're unpacking the ideas behind the Perplexity Comet browser. And our mission, really, is to show you how this tool kind of forces a necessary shift in how you work, moving you away from being just an information hunter, manually clicking through links, to becoming more of a task manager, someone who delegates complex research.
Yeah, exactly. We'll map out why this shift is, frankly, essential now with generative AI everywhere. We need to define that critical difference between a standard search engine and what they're calling an answer engine. Then we'll walk through the, let's say, expert setup steps, grouped together logically, and finally demonstrate 6 really concrete workflows that can genuinely cut down on that cognitive load.
Okay, sounds good. Let's unpack this. We kind of have to start with the context, which involves a bit of fear, actually. The source material we looked at points to this pretty striking number. 71% of people surveyed worry AI will take their jobs. That level of job anxiety looking at new tech can be paralyzing.
It really can. But that whole narrative, it needs an immediate reframe. The sources are quite clear on this. AI isn't just replacing people wholesale. Instead, it's the people who get good at using these new AI tools quickly. They are the ones who will replace those who, well, refuse to adapt. That distinction is vital.
Okay. But that sounds like it might be a technical burden. Does mastering a tool like Comet mean I need to learn programming or something?
Not at all.
Yeah.
No, think back to when cars first showed up. The people who learned to drive cars, they found new jobs, high-leverage jobs, and the folks who insisted, nope, I'm sticking with my horse, well, they got left behind, didn't they? These AI tools are basically the car in that story. It's about upgrading your skills, adapting to modern tools. It's not about coding.
Right. So if I learn how to delegate tasks effectively to this tool, this assistant, how does that change my value, in the job market?
It signals adaptability. It shifts you from someone who could be replaced to someone essential. Now, to really get Comet, we have to understand what it is, because it works differently than the tools we've used for, gosh, decades. We need to define the difference between a regular search engine like Google and this idea of an answer engine.
Okay. The chocolate cake recipe analogy you mentioned earlier makes this super clear, I think. When you ask Google, let's call it the traditional search tool, for the best chocolate cake recipe, Google acts like a librarian, right?
Precisely. A librarian who hands you a list. Maybe 10, maybe 100 websites that seem relevant. Then it's on you, the user, to click into them, read them, compare them, try to synthesize all that information yourself. That takes time, effort. It adds to that cognitive load.
But when you ask an answer engine like Comet the same question, give me a simple chocolate cake recipe for a beginner, it acts more like a dedicated assistant. It reads a whole bunch of sources for you. It synthesizes them down into one clear, prioritized answer. Here are the ingredients. Here are the steps. Here are some tips.
And what's absolutely crucial here is that it lists its sources. It tells you, look, this summary came from website A, website B, website C, trustworthy sites. So you skip all that tedious work of finding it yourself, and you instantly get a verified, structured answer. It just cuts out a huge amount of manual effort. So beyond just saving time, what's the main advantage of getting that summarized answer, but one that also includes the verifiable sources?
Well, it gives you immediate clarity, and you can trust the information. Okay, this next part is where the real work begins. The setup. Seems most people make the mistake of just installing Comet and, jumping right in. The sources really emphasize this. Spend maybe 10 minutes setting it up correctly before you use it for anything serious. It'll save you energy down the line.
Yeah, absolutely. We can group the key setup steps into maybe 3 main buckets. The first one is all about habit and defaulting. Step 1, use the desktop app. Doesn't matter if you're on Windows, Mac, Linux, use the app. And, this is important, you must make it your default browser.
Why is making it the default so critical? It feels a little invasive, maybe? Forcing me to change a habit that's pretty ingrained.
I get that, but it's about building that essential muscle memory. If this assistant is only there when you remember to open a separate app, you're just going to default back to your old, inefficient browser whenever you're in a rush. Comet needs to be the path of least resistance for it to stick. Okay, the second bucket is AI customization. You need to pick the right tool for the specific job you're doing. Comet gives you three main ways to operate. There's search for just quick daily answers. There's research for those bigger multi-step investigations where you need a proper structured summary at the end. And then there's labs, which is more for turning rough ideas into complex workable outputs, like drafting something substantial.
And customizing what it searches seems really powerful and maybe overlooked. You don't always need the whole internet.
That's exactly right. You can tell it only look at academic papers for this, or search social media and Reddit for real user opinions, or focus on finance sites for market data. You can even link it to your own connected tools. Like if you use Notion, it can search your personal notes. The key is always choose that specialized source before you hit search.
And we also get control over the actual AI model running underneath, the brain behind it. Which models are available and why would I pick one over another?
Yes, this is key too. You can choose OpenAI's GPT-4. Right now, that's probably best for creative writing, complex analysis, or you might go for Google's Gemini 2.5 Pro, which seems to excel at really complex, multi-layered research tasks. And finally, there's Claude from Anthropic, which is known for being really good at following very specific, detailed instructions and handling long-form analysis. All right, the third bucket, automation and delegation. You need to turn on the assistant sidebar and keep it visible. This sidebar can actually see the page you're currently looking at, and it can perform actions right there on that page for you.
Okay, I see the utility there, definitely.
Yeah.
But connecting personal data, like my Gmail or my calendar, where do we draw the line on privacy? That feels a bit concerning.
You have to be incredibly careful here, extremely judicious. Connect only what genuinely helps you with a specific recurring task. Less is absolutely more, honestly. Beat. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself sometimes, especially if I let these tools access way too much context. It just gets confused. So really, only connect accounts where you know you need specific task help, like maybe drafting email replies or scheduling, not for general browsing.
Right. And just to clarify, you mentioned prompt drift. What exactly is that again?
Prompt drift. It's basically when an AI model, if you give it too much background info or really long, complicated tasks, it slowly starts to lose track of your original goal. It starts giving you stuff that's kind of related, but not really what you asked for anymore. It sort of drifts off course.
Got it. That makes sense. Okay, moving on to other time savers. Workspaces sound useful, keeping tabs organized by project. Client work here, personal research there. What about quick commands? Are there shortcuts we should memorize?
Definitely learn the slash commands. Brief gives you a quick summary of the page you're on, super handy. Compare shows you the differences between, say, two products or concepts clearly laid out. News pulls up a tailored list of headlines based on your interests. And crucially, you can save your own custom shortcuts for tasks you do all the time.
Last point on setup. Setting the default answer depth to concise. Start short, basically. And saving 2 reusable prompts sounds smart for getting into that manager mindset.
Exactly. One prompt should just ask for a quick summary, any action items and points needing immediate attention. Real quick overview. The second should be more like an action checklist, maybe structured by what needs doing today, this week, this month. These act like templates, so you're ready to delegate quickly.
Okay, wow, that's a lot on setup. But if I only have time for one thing today, the absolute highest leverage move, what gives the most long-term value?
Making Comet your default browser. It forces the habit. That's the foundation. So once you've done that setup, Comet really starts to feel different. It goes beyond just search. It moves into actual task execution. And that's when it stops feeling like just software you use and starts feeling more like a teammate almost.
Yeah, the YouTube Smart fact-checking example you shared is brilliant. You're watching some dense, maybe 2-hour tech review video, and you don't want to scrub through the whole timeline looking for one specific point. You just ask Comet, find the exact moment the reviewer talks about the phone's battery life.
And boom, it takes you right there. Then you can follow up, ask it something like, okay, now list all the main points the reviewer made about the battery and give me the timestamps. And it spits out this clear, sourced list of bullet points. It's incredibly efficient.
The adaptability is really something, too. I actually tested this, and Comet initially used a video that someone else had re-uploaded, not the official one. So I just corrected it mid-task. I said, no, use the video from the official channel. And just switch sources immediately and redid the analysis. Pretty cool. But the travel plan example, that's where I had that genuine whoa moment. Imagine planning a very specific one-day trip in a city. You want to start at the central station. You specify, hit this museum, then the old town, then this park. And crucially, you say only use public transport, and you want to avoid backtracking across the city.
Right. And the output isn't just a list of website links, no. Comet asks if it can connect to Google Maps, then it orders the locations logically to minimize travel time, and it gives you a structured table. It's like, oh, location, transport method, estimated travel time, and maybe some notes.
Whoa. I mean, imagine scaling that level of detailed location-aware planning to manage an entire week's schedule, or like a complex client project timeline.
Yeah.
That's incredible control. But okay, if I'm delegating something that personal, like my travel plans, what happens if it gets something important wrong? Is there a risk of just relying on it too much?
That's exactly where the manager mindset comes back in. You are still the boss, the final editor. If it suggests a bus route that you know is terrible, you don't throw the whole plan out. You just refine the instruction. You say, okay, public transport only, but avoid walks longer than 10 minutes, and it recalculates, finds a new route. The risk is lower because you only adjust one small instruction. You don't have to go back and manually research 20 different options yourself. So thinking about that, what's the biggest shift in mindset needed to successfully delegate something complex, like detailed travel planning?
You have to actually trust the tool enough to let it take the first pass, let it do the heavy lifting, and then focus your energy on checking and refining the final result. All right, let's quickly run through those 6 real-world workflows that the sources highlight as saving hours every week. This is where you see the practical utility shine.
Okay, workflow 1, finding facts. You open maybe a skeptical article online, ask Comet, summarize this in 5 points, and then crucially, extract every single link to a scientific study mentioned in this text, instant verification.
Workflow 2, content planning. This is great. Analyze, say, the top 5 articles currently trending on a topic like saving money for young people. Ask it to identify gaps in what they cover. Draft a detailed outline that fills those gaps and then generate 5 different title options. Maybe a simple one, a curious one, a surprising opinion, one with data, maybe a fun one. You get a whole content strategy in like under a minute.
Workflow 3, building a buyer's guide. This usually involves so much data hunting. Let's say you want to compare 3 specific student laptops, all under $700. Doing that manually is easily 30 minutes of just hopping between tabs, right?
Right. Instead, you ask Comet, list only the relevant specs, battery life, weight, keyboard quality, focus it. Then ask for current prices, say, for October 2025, and give me a recommendation for best value and best performance.
And the output isn't just text, it's often a clean table. It's immediately actionable, cross-referenced against its sources. It basically transforms all that scattered info from web pages into like neat little Lego blocks of data that you can easily compare and use.
Workflow 4, learning a new skill. This is smart. Instead of just searching how to be a video editor, you tell Comet to look at current job postings for a junior video editor. What are companies actually asking for right now? It finds those core skills the market demands, then builds you a custom 7-day learning plan using only free resources it can find online, complete with links to tutorials, articles, and even suggestions for practice projects. It's actionable, context-aware learning.
Workflow 5, getting the news. Use that special news command we mentioned, but be specific. Request original reporting sources only, no aggregation if possible. Ask for 50-word summaries. Tell it to focus strictly on, say, technology and science news, and maybe mark any stories that are still developing. You get instant clarity and just radically cut down the noise.
And workflow 6, pulling data from PDFs. We all deal with these dense documents. Open a, let's say, 50-page financial report PDF inside Comet. Ask it to. Pull out the key statistics mentioned, find 3 direct quotes supporting the main argument with page numbers, and write a 2-sentence executive conclusion. That just eliminates potentially hours of manually searching inside those clunky documents.
Okay, thinking about the listener who feels just completely overwhelmed by the fire hose of information every day, which one of these workflows offers the biggest, most immediate noise reduction?
Probably workflow 5, using that concise filtered news command and really demanding only primary sources. That cuts through a lot of chatter. And all this brings us back to that core idea we started with. You're not using Comet just to find information anymore. You're using it to actually complete tasks. The mental shift is, well, it's profound. You stop being the hunter, manually clicking, reading, pasting, and you become the manager, delegating all that tedious, low-value work. Right. And delegation, even when it's to an AI, needs sharp instructions. You got to think of it like working with a really capable, really smart intern. They can do amazing things, but they need crystal clear directions.
Exactly. Your prompts need to be specific about the format you want, the length. Don't just say summarize. Say, summarize this article in 5 bullet points, keep it under 100 words total, and use a skeptical tone. Be precise.
And demand quality sources. That's key for reducing the risk of getting bad info. If it gives you summaries based on, I don't know, some random blogs, push back immediately. Clarify. Replace these sources with primary research papers, or use only academic sources for this section. Always guide it when needed. Don't just give up and start over. Just tell it, make this section shorter, or simplify the jargon here. Iterate.
So the call to action here is pretty simple. Don't try to overhaul your entire workflow overnight. That's overwhelming. Just pick one specific recurring task that you tend to avoid because it feels like drudgery. Maybe it's researching a complex topic, comparing a few products before buying, drafting an executive summary of a long report. Pick one and use Comet to actually finish that task today. See how it feels.
Yeah. The big idea really is this.
Yeah.
Your browser should be empowering you, not constantly distracting you or bogging you down. For years, we just accepted that doing research meant getting lost in this endless sea of tabs. Comet is designed specifically to tackle that problem. It's probably the closest thing we have right now to a genuinely integrated assistant built right into your digital workflow.
So here's a final thought to leave you with. Think about how much of your professional identity and maybe just your daily energy is currently tied up in the act of searching, just finding stuff. When that lower level task gets successfully delegated to a tool like this, what higher level, more strategic thinking could you finally dedicate your limited time and energy to?
Set up Comet correctly using those steps we talked about. Try delegating just one task this week and just observe the change in your focus. Our deep dive is complete.